Welcome to the JClaylink draft live stream, part of the RotoWire Online Championship at the NFBC. I am JClaylink, and when I say this live stream starts at 9 Central, it starts at 9, pal. We're getting underway here in about 30 seconds, so glad you could stop through and hang out. It will be just me tonight. I thought about inviting some of my industry friends, and Jeff Erickson suggested I should, but hey, look, this is our lives, and we all have a ton going on right now. I don't want to burden somebody else, so I'll just knock this one out myself. It'll be basically a live stream of consciousness. So yeah, I'll just keep you updated with all the picks, and got the. Here we go. By the way, as we get started here, KY Wildcats in the chat had a really good question. Trey Turner goes with the first pick, by the way. All right, so my number one guy on the board is still here. That's Julio Rodriguez. So I'm going to take Julio Rodriguez. Acuna and Rodriguez are my 1-2. Everybody worries about KDS. I want the earlier in the draft. I always leave it 1 through 12, 1 through 15. I think that's the way to go because as I select Julio Rodriguez here, you got to remember you're getting the lesser, if you're picking toward the back half of the draft, you're getting the lesser, not only the first round, but the third round and the fifth round. So, look, I think unless you have a guy in mind that you think this is the guy that I got to have, and I can get him at the end of the first round, I could, then I like this guy early in the second. But look, the guys I want are early in the first round. That's why I have them at the top of my list. So I always leave KDS at 1 through 12, 1 through 15. There's no third round reversal in fantasy baseball like there is for football. I know that, the old argument is you can win the league from any draft spot, and that's true. But look, I want the best players available to me, and I have more options available to me when I'm picking earlier in the first, third, and fifth round. All right, so the first 5 off the board are Trey Turner, Julio Rodriguez, Aaron Judge goes third, then Acuna, Jose Ramirez. So we're off and running 12-team, 5x5 mixed league draft. Always a lot of fun. And if you didn't know, and how could you not know? I mean, come on, pal. Look, I finished in the top 10 in this online championship in 2018, and I did it with just one entry. It was the JClaylink draft. So finishing top 10 in the overall is a heck of a feeling. I'm still trying to get back there. Hopefully this is the one that gets me back. And we'll see. I'll always be indebted to Jack Flaherty and Walker Buehler, who is rookies, late round picks, just hit huge. Maybe a good lesson for you as you speculate on late pitchers, some guys who could really, really explode. Those guys can swing leagues and swing overalls, especially if you get a couple of them, as I did that year. But yeah, it's a tough thing, but it's doable. It's doable. It's not out of the realm of possibility. After Jose Ramirez, we had Mookie Betts go, then Shohei Ohtani fills the UT spot of the number 7 drafter. I mentioned that I have the draft board shared here. I did do the one without any names because I used to pay my respects to the NFBC crowd. I know some people don't like having their picks made public. Yeah, that is pretty high on Mookie. I think that's the highest I've seen him go at 6. After Ohtani, it's Kyle Tucker. It's funny, my dad was texting me and he said, why not Mookie Betts? I said, I have him closer to the back half of the first round, but look, that's a special player. You're probably getting 90 cents on the dollar at the very least. Thanks, guys, for swinging through and hanging out for a bit. And here we go. This is a lot of fun. A lot of money at stake here. A lot of pride and glory, too. Power and Glory. It was a fun tag team back in the day. If you watch professional wrestling, the golden era of pro wrestling. Bobby Witt goes with the 9th overall pick. So To keep you updated, Trey Turner, number 1. Then I went Julio Rodriguez with the number 2 pick. Aaron Judge, Ronald Acuna Jr., Jose Ramirez, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Kyle Tucker, Bobby Witt Jr. We're nearing the end of the first round in this 12-team mixed draft, 30 rounds. Of course, you have your 14 active hitters, 9 pitchers, 23 active players, then 7 bench spots. I might even make a TGFBI pick live during this live stream. We'll be here with you for a while. I hope you can, stop in and out, check in, and hang. Again, did not want to burden. We ask a lot of our people here at RotoWire, and I did not want to throw this on anybody else's plate, so I'm just going to handle this one. And we'll just keep you updated. I know those guys would have been kind enough to come through if I'd asked, but you got me tonight. I'm not going to throw that at anybody on a Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time. After Bobby Witt goes 9, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. goes number 10. So no real concerns here about the knee. He pulled out of the World Baseball Classic, which is now underway as a result of that knee, but the Blue Jays seem to be downplaying it. And Juan Soto, his calf thing seems to be totally behind him. He went right after Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with the 11th pick in round 1. He said he feels 100% healthy. He said he ran on the field. That he is 100%. So that calf with Juan Soto does not seem to be really a concern as we head toward opening day. And I'm starting to find myself a little, it's hard to have FOMO and when you're picking the first round, but every now and then I do kind of get a little FOMO with Juan Soto still, even to this day. There's Fernando Tatis Jr. I recently lowered Fernando Tatis. No disrespect to the person who just drafted him, but I'm a little worried about him. Not only is he missing all that time, he's had multiple surgeries, heading out toward the outfield, out in right field. I don't know, it seems like it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment for him. And he told AJ Cassavell of MLB.com that he was feeling out of sync, so not a huge deal at this point, but when you're not playing it at this level of baseball for as long as he hasn't played this level of professional baseball, especially at the major league level, it's hard to really see him just coming in and being himself right away, at least for me. Some people don't have those concerns. They think he'll be just fine. But I think the transition to the outfield could get into his head a little bit if he's not so comfortable out there. He could. I think we're seeing that right now. He's kind of adjusting in the field and feeling out of sync at the plate. So, well, he didn't necessarily say those two were connected. At least he says he's tracking pitches well. I know Jeff always alludes to it, and I always bring it up too, but the Eugenio Suarez move to shortstop. Oh, my good grief. And Kyle Elfring mentioned it too when they were doing the live stream of the labor. That went wrong like within minutes of the season starting. Imagine being a Reds fan and within the first inning or two on opening day, this team is making errors. Eugenio Suarez has an error, and Luis Castillo has an unearned run. It's just brutal. And Eugenio Suarez admitted that his struggles in the field carried over to the plate, and he had a really tough season. So, look, I'm not saying that anecdote's going to apply to Fernando Tatis, but anytime you are making that transition, it's not like he can just go back to shortstop. They have Bogarts and they have Ha-Seong Kim. Anytime that transition is necessary, kind of, a guy who's been away that long, just can't treat him as if he's basically as if he hasn't been away. All right, to keep you updated, after Juan Soto, Bo Bichette, Fernando Tatis, Freddie Freeman, Yordan Alvarez, Manny Machado, Mike Trout. I'm going to have to maybe restart this Chromebook here. All right, guys. Well, Spencer Strider's right there for me on my list. So, this is tough. This is a tough spot to be in, actually. I think I'm going to take Strider. See who's there on the way back, because I can live with whoever's. I guess, man, this is tough. Already in a tough spot here. All right. I think Strider could have like 250K, so I'm going to go Strider. No, not everybody's a believer, but I am indeed. So then Garrett Cole goes. So the second round has gone like this: Fernando Tatis, Freddie Freeman, Yordan Alvarez, Manny Machado, Mike Trout, Corbin Burns, Rafael Devers, Paul Goldschmidt, Pete Alonso, Austin Riley, Spencer Strider, Garrett Cole. And then the first pick of round 3 is Sandy Alcantara. So I'm thinking JT Realmuto here. Although I have Michael Harris, I think a little bit higher. Man, I love the idea of grabbing a stud catcher. Yeah, maybe this draft spot is not so easy. It's easier in a 15-team league. Huh. I have an outfielder, so I'm just going to take the catcher. It was just so darn steady. It chips in about, 20 steals last year, as we know, 2020. And, you don't necessarily pencil him in for that again. I'm going to have to jump over to my personal laptop because automatic installation going on right now in about 2 minutes. So let me get this personal laptop up so that I don't miss anything. What's with the automatic installs, folks? What's with airplane food? All right. Give me 1 second. Oops. You got 2 of me. All right, so let me get this draft up. All right. How am I sounding here? I know I had to restart that, so I'm just trying to get the board back up. Thanks for bearing with me. Thanks, Pete. It's kind of you. Yes, I will get the draft board back up. This computer just had an automatic restart sort of deal. So let me get back in. All right, so we're nearing the end of the third round. After I took Real Muto, McClanahan, Michael Harris, Jazz Chisholm, Jacob deGrom, Aaron Nola, Matt Olson, Carlos Rodon. So the final three picks of the third round coming up here. Again, thanks for bearing with me. I was throwing a little curveball there, but nothing bad. Glad that didn't have to restart like right when I was making my picks. Well, after waiting a lot of that clock out, the pick after Rodon, the 10th pick of the third round was Nolan Arenado. Then Frankie Lindor. Tom sent me this draft link without the names. Again, I'm trying to be respectful just of the NFBC players who don't want their board shared. All right. We back. We back, folks. All right. I worked through that just fine. Now you guys can see the board, right? Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming through, hanging out. I'll close this personal laptop. Move back. All right, so I'm going to move just to this internal camera. Kind of like that. All right, we indeed have a closer run, folks. Closers are coming in hot. A little surprising to see them last into the fourth round. We have Emmanuel Clase, Edwin Diaz both going in the fourth round. Picks 2 and 4 the fourth round, respectively. So don't usually see that, although I've been doing a lot of 15-team drafts, and it's a little different. But still kind of surprising. All right, yeah. Those forced Chrome updates are pretty rough, but thankfully we worked through that, and we are working our way through the fourth round here in this JClaylink draft. I was lucky enough to finish in the top 10 back in 2018 on a solo shot, too. I didn't have any other entries aside from the JClaylink draft. Pat myself on the back like Barry Horowitz over here, but hey, man. You know, I was telling Nick Whalen, who's kind of dipping his toes into fantasy baseball, RotoWire's Nick Whalen, huge NBA guy, loves football as well. He likes baseball. Kind of more like, you know, has the memory of baseball and the Mo Vaughns of the world. And he is not necessarily a diehard anymore, but he seems to be getting into it this year. And he said he just wants to not embarrass himself in the company. And I said, hey, you should be aiming higher than that, Nick, because you could run into some beginner's luck. You never know. Fantasy baseball is hard, but if you grind it out for 26 weeks, You're going to put yourself in a good position because that's hardest part for a lot of people. And it is a grind. Good grief. Some Sundays. All right. Well, I'm up here with the second to last pick of the fourth round. So I got an ace. I got Strider. I got my catcher, Evermuto. I need some speed. And actually, I told myself I was going to do this. He was there with my pick in the fourth round. And I'm going to do it, folks, because I need some speed if I want to compete in the overall. I got Julio, I got JT, and this guy will put me in a great position, leave me with a lot of options later in the draft. He got to me in the fourth round. Corbin Carroll. I had a best friend named Corbin when I was a kid. Corbin Blyer. Nice guy. Hope he's doing well. That was back in my Ohio days, Arcanum, Ohio. But yeah, that has nothing to do with my pick. But Corbin Carroll, I'm really excited. I know James, has had him as a top prospect for a long, long time. We saw that speed being put on display the other day. On the base. An absolute sight to behold. Now I get to draft my second ace, and I'm so... Ooh, actually, I have a second thought about this because now I kind of want Corey Seager. I was thinking about taking Luis Castillo just like that. Whew. Man, I love Corey Seager too. Albies is good too, but I think I need that ace. I think I need that other lockdown ace if I really want to put my pitching staff in a great spot. So I'm going to grab Luis Castillo. I think he's just underrated widely because of the Cincinnati years. He's not there anymore. Good for him. All right, Luis, welcome home. All right, so through 5, I have Julio Rodriguez, Spencer Strider, JT Realmuto, Corbin Carroll, and Luis Castillo. Castillo is also the coolest player maybe ever. Him and Johnny Cueto are 80 grade cool. We love to see it, don't we? All right, well, the closer run continues with Jordan Romano. Corey Seager went right after I took Castillo, so those guys are both guys who probably lasted longer than they should. And I mean, 5th round picks, that's great. And Shane Bieber is an appealing 5th round pick as well. A lot of 5th rounders that are really sexy, let's say. All right, we are continuing on the JClaylink draft. The NFBC is just such a fantastic platform. I love playing on the NFBC every year, and not only is the draft room just brilliant, but the fab is so easy. You can make a list and then copy it. That has saved me a lot of time on Sundays. After Shane Bieber, Julio Urias, that's kind of an interesting either or. I lean Shane Bieber there. But I like both of those guys, but I like Castillo just a little more upside. We know Castillo has that great changeup, but one thing I loved to see with the Reds last year was Castillo's fastball just right up in the zone, blowing guys by at 97, 98, then pulling the string with that insane curveball or with that insane changeup. Can work in the slider too as well. Kind of redundant. The Department of Redundancy Department. R.I.P. Stuart Scott. Love Stuart Scott. Luis Roberts on my do not draft list this year. I know it's not quite getting to Mondesi levels, but it is getting to Buxton levels with his missed time. Luis Robert goes with the 7th pick of round 5. Just steep price, especially when we talk about some of these other picks here. Guys available like Corey Seager. No, Seager wasn't available when the guy took Robert, but still so many good players. And he has not cracked 100 games played in the majors, Luis Robert. He did play pretty much all of the 2020 season, but under 100 games played the past 2 years. Ozzy Albies finally goes with the 8th pick of round 5. Then following Albies up is Christian Javier. Javier's got a new long-term deal. I get it. I've not ended up with him anywhere, but man, that is an appealing potential ace there in the 5th round. What do you guys think? Albies versus, or not Albies, Javier versus Bieber versus Castillo. It's sort of like splitting hairs. I do like Castillo a little bit more, but I think the Mariners are going to be really good. I'm kind of buying back in on Kelnick. I know I was dead wrong before. Oops. I got carried away, but that's what some of these success stories like, the Acuñas and all these guys, Tatis, these guys have come up, Julio last year. They get you believing that, they could just skyrocket and be a top 10 type of player right away, but just the trajectory doesn't always go like that. But I don't want to give up on Kelnick yet, certainly. And what he's shown this spring, I really like, not chasing pitches out of the zone, really focusing on every pitch, just competing on every pitch, which is what you have to do. You cannot be having all this stuff in your mind. You have to be in the moment. That is not always hard. I was telling Jeff Erickson on the air last week, with that in mind, it's so easy to dream on these guys. It's far more difficult to be realistic. Death is easy, living is tough, sort of deal. It's so easy to dream on guys and, I'm going to swing for the fences. But the way leagues are won is really by just cumulative total knowledge of the pool, not always anyway. I'm on this one youngster I'm going to jump up and he's going to win the league for me. All right, we're going to recap the 5th round here. Kyle Schwarber. I took Luis Castillo. Then Corey Seager, Jordan Romano, Shane Bieber, Julio Urias, Luis Robert, Ozzy Albies, Christian Javier, Adolis Garcia, O'Neill Cruz, a lot of upside there, Zach Wheeler, Raisel Iglesias, Salvador Perez. Still a lot of pitchers I like on the board. I saw Gallen had a really rough outing yesterday. I'm not going to really let that factor into my thinking, just like I'm not letting JD Martinez's tough start to spring training get off, factor into my thinking whatsoever. As long as Gallen's healthy, I'll still be going after him. He would be, if I could get him on the 74, I would strongly consider Gallen, even with 2 quote-unquote aces already. This is where the closer pool starts to get pretty hairy. I would like to grab Ryan Presley if he's there. Or Ryan Helsley, for that matter. I think Kenley Jansen should be fine, but he's kind of been on that downward trajectory, that downward slope for a little while. And I know he spent a lot of time in the offseason working to trim down his delivery and get the ball out to meet the demands of the pitch clock. But I think that team has some kind of sneaky blow-up potential. I kind of like the under on them. And Chris Sale looked good the other day. I'm in on Sale, but they got injuries to Paxton, Garrett Whitlock, Brian Bayo already. So perhaps Josh Winkowski, maybe Tanner Houck in that starting rotation. Houck is kind of back on my sleeper radar. I might take him in TGFBI, actually. One of my final picks. I think he should at least be getting starts at the start of the season out of necessity mostly. But when your pitching staff's already being stretched thin like that, it's not even opening day. That's a bad sign for the Red Sox. Their ability to compete all season. Well, Ryan Presley just went, so I'll not be getting Ryan Presley. Raisel Iglesias, Salvador Perez, Max Fried, Will Smith of the Dodgers, Kevin Gausman, and then Ryan Presley. A little surprised to see Alek Manoah still on the board. I'll have to consider him and Gallen with this next pick. I'm going to be up in 5 picks here. I'm just going to check some settings here real quick. Sounds like we are all good. Here just goes Adley. So Ryan Presley, Adley Rutschman. I'm up in a few picks. This is going to be a real tough one for me because there's some guys here that I don't really think should be there, but I also feel the need to maybe just bite the bullet and take a closer. I like Ryan Helsley's skills a whole heck of a lot. You know who I would love to get as my second closer is Andres Munoz. I've been getting him as my closer too if I can everywhere because he's like the perfect closer too. If he gets you 15 to 20, you're golden. And he might get you quite a bit more than that, and the ratios are going to be excellent, health provided. I know reliever volatility is very real thing, but he's going in that Blake Trinan was a few years ago, where about 150-ish, where he could just skyrocket and be huge. Well, Alek Manoah went, so I love Gallen. But I think I need to take Helsley. I think I need to. His velocity's a little down. Not too worried about that. I think I have to just get my closer here. I feel like there's a drop off after Helsley, then down to Kenley and Doval. I'm not comfortable in that range with my first, so Ryan Helsley, you better hold on to the job now. All right, so 3 pitchers already. Time to go back to the board on offense, I think, even though Gallen is still there. I like Gallen, but I think at this point it's time to transition elsewhere. And I actually like Alex Bregman a lot this year, especially given the drop-off after him. I want to talk about avalanches at a position. Third base after Alex Bregman. I mean, I like Gunnar Henderson, don't get me wrong, but after Bregman, then it's, oh, there goes Bregman. Boo. Boo. All right, that's fine. Alex Bregman, Yu Darvish. Because, yeah, now it's like Gunnar Henderson, Max Muncy, Miranda. After Bregman, things get real ugly there. All right. This is a tough pick. This is a really tough one. I actually don't hate the idea of getting a guy like Gunnar Henderson. Kid's a stud, and those third. I mean, I kind of like Muncy, but geez, if he's your starting third baseman in a 12-teamer, you're already kind of playing uphill. So I think I want to, kind of like I just did, bite the bullet a little bit. Not that I like Helsley's a bad pick, but yeah, let's go Gunnar Henderson. Come on down. All right, that's the guy I have not drafted all draft season yet. But staring into that abyss at third base. Woof. A couple of closers go right after I take Henderson. Devin Williams of the Brewers and Camilo Doval. People seem to be hesitant on Williams, and I'm there too. Something weird going on in Milwaukee. Something stinks over there. I really don't have any basis to say that, but you know, the whole thing with Burns, and apparently the Josh Hader trade really shook the clubhouse. So I don't know. It feels like maybe they're gonna just head in the wrong direction and kind of eventually tear things down. They also have Jesse Winker, who's a clubhouse cancer. I also have no basis for saying that, but it sure seemed like Jesse Winker wore himself out in Cincinnati with his teammates, and wore himself out in Seattle in a real hurry. So I actually kind of like Winker's chances in Milwaukee, but maybe he's just the guy that his teammates don't really like playing with. Round 7 of this 12-team JClaylink draft at the NFBC, $350 entry, $150,000 grand prize, which I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for it, and I play like I'm going to win this thing. You could laugh if you want, and that's just fine. But if you don't come to play, why come at all? You got to come correct. Round 7, Yu Darvish, Gunnar Henderson, Devin Williams, Camilo Doval, Teoscar Hernandez, Tommy Edman, Eloy Jimenez. Maybe Eloy Jimenez, from what I hear. There goes Gallen. Pick 8 of round 7, Zach Gallen. And I'm not as out on Eloy Jimenez as I am Luis Robert, but I'm just kind of don't like either of them. Eloy is going to DH a lot, presumably, but he wants to play the field. And you just worry every time he's out there that he's going to strain something, crash into the wall. It's such a tough game. And that size, it's just so much wear and tear over the course of a season. It's hard to stay on the field. Tristan McKenzie, I think, went a fair amount higher than ADP. Even ahead of Framber Valdez, which surprised me a little bit. But I certainly like Tristan McKenzie. So if you're looking at the board here, there are no names with the on the board, but I am Team 2. So Julio Rodriguez, Spencer Strider, JT Realmuto, Corbin Carroll, Luis Castillo, Ryan Helsley, and Gunnar Henderson. Guys like Carroll and Henderson, quite a bit of upside. I guess I'm playing to my reputation with these youngsters. I'm living the gimmick, so to speak. By the way, I just watched the Andre the Giant HBO special on the HBO Max app. Absolutely great. I think it was like a ESPN 30 for 30 type thing, but Andre the Giant was such a unique cat. So weird imagining trying to live like Andre the Giant. Sitting on baby furniture your whole life. All right, we're into the 8th round. Starling Marte, who's really tough guy to rank right now, had surgery on both groins. Also had, I think, a finger. Then had a finger with Starling Marte late last year, wrist. Just was not healthy at all down the stretch. So I'm willing to give him a little bit of a pass on the success rate on the steals, dipping quite a bit. Success rate actually plummeted, which I think is kind of a result of the injuries. Maybe they slowed him down a little bit, said, hey, don't hurt yourself further. And I'm willing to get back in, but just didn't work out here. Well, maybe I didn't necessarily need to jump the gun on Henderson where I did in the 7th round, but In a 15 team, I'm okay with a guy like Yandy Diaz, even, but in a 12, Miranda I like, but even Miranda Suarez, it's kind of like iffy as your starting third baseman in a 12-team mixed league. I'd love for Miranda to be my corner or my util, but who's on everybody's minds right now? Probably. I won't say the name to pollute the room here, but a certain youngster for the Cardinals. Starling Marte, then another outfielder right after him with the second pick of the 8th round, Brian Reynolds, then Robbie Ray, Jose Abreu, Xander Bogaerts, Wander Franco. So Franco, still top 100 pick, at least in this room, top 90 even. We're on pick 91. Pick 91 is due up. Vinny Pasquantino, the Italian breakfast, the Italian nightmare. Vinny Paz. You don't want to test Vinny Paz's patience. He cracks jaws and swings swords of the ancients. I love Vinny P, but I just like too many other players in this range. It's too pricey. Tim Anderson goes with the 8th pick of the 8th round, then William Contreras. Wow, William goes ahead of Wilson. Surprised me a little bit. Well, this is interesting. This is pretty interesting here. Because I don't know if I'm going to get him with my next pick. That'd be Jordan Walker, who I was just alluding to. But you know what? I do like Wilson Contreras. I mean, William just went. I don't see any reason why William should be going ahead of Wilson. But you know what? I kind of want to chase the overall and go with Jordan. Well, let's swing for the fences here. What the hell? Oh, God, I'm a mark. But look, why not? He's going to be going top 100 in all drafts. I get him at pick 95. He will not be going 95 really in any league if he gets announced to the team. So, look, he's got corner eligibility. He's third base right now. He'll gain outfield eligibility, assuming he makes the team. Clay Holmes went. Maybe I'll get Wilson Contreras after all. It looks like I will. So I'm going to have a catching tandem of Realmuto and Wilson Contreras. How about that? Huh? But come on, that's sexy as hell. On the 12-teamer? Yeah, I don't really like any of these other pitchers here. Maybe, I could see Jeremy Pena maybe. I love the idea of getting another stud catcher here and just having that position. I love with each pick keeping my subsequent picks open. Give myself as many avenues as I can. Address those scarce categories. Get a foothold in all 10 categories. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Wilson. Big Willie Styles. I'm not really worried about him adjusting to St. Louis. Give me the best catching tandem in the league. I've found that it's so hard to have the best 14 hitters over the course of a season when two of your active hitters are crappy catchers. Not so easy. So I've been a little bit more willing this draft season to pay up at catcher. What do you think? Do you guys think I overdid it with the two catchers, Realmuto and Wilson Contreras? I'm shocked that William went ahead of Wilson. That's, what is that, Brewers wish casting or something? I like William. But Wilson's just, I think, on a little bit different level. A little bit ahead of William, his little brother. Jake McCarthy, he's I'm not in on him at all. I think I have him like 170 on my cheat sheet. By the way, check that out at RotoWire. I ranked to 300, and of course, you can see the RotoWire Roundtable rankings, which are my rankings, combined with Jeff's, Todd Zola's, and Eric Halterman's. Give you a nice kind of spread as far as the players' expected range of draft picks. So after Jake McCarthy, Nick Lodolo. Big fan of him. I probably wouldn't take him over Snell, who went right after him. And then Musgrove, who hurt his foot, dropped a weight on his foot working out. Felix Bautista. You guys worried about him at all? I guess just anything this early scares me, but maybe I'm, especially when it's a shoulder, but it wasn't the off season. Felix could pay off big at Felix Bautista at the 103rd pick. 103, 104 due up here on the clock. Felix Bautista, 7th pick of the 9th round. Yes, KY Wildcats, being a Reds fan is a miserable existence. I was telling James, I may have to this may be the year where I just stop watching. And it was kind of funny. I was telling James, too, that, you see these sell the team Bob stuff going around. Bob Castellini. Sell the team, Bob, sell the team. I think one of the beat writers, I forget who it was exactly, just said, you can't sell the Reds franchise right now. Nobody's going to pay for the Reds franchise. They've done so much damage to it. It's a small market. How are you going to sell that franchise right now? It is kind of like we're stuck with the Castellinis probably. And they actually make more money, I think, when they're terrible and don't pay anybody. So I'm looking forward to Ellie De La Cruz and some of their other youngsters, but it probably will continue to be a miserable existence for the Cincinnati Reds fans. But look, Great American Ballpark is great, and the fans of Cincinnati are some of the most passionate baseball fans out there. Look, I'm an Ohio kid, all right, but I stick up for where I'm from. Hunter Green, so Nick Lodolo ahead of Green. Luis Severino went right before Hunter Green. The 9th round was Taylor Ward. Wilson Contreras was my pick. Jake McCarthy, Nick Lodolo, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Felix Bautista, Kenley Jansen. Kind of a teardrop now at that closer position. George Kirby, who I like a lot. Missed him here, though. That's all right. Willie Adames, 10th pick of round 9. Luis Severino and Hunter Green. Then the first pick of round 10, Clayton Kershaw. Still something in the tank. You got to expect. How much is the question, though? Well, we're about a third of the way through this. Making good time. Glad you've been able to stop through and hang out with me for a little bit. Making our way through the JClaylink draft. All right. Well, Ahmed Rosario, Logan Gilbert, I'm kind of out on. He was one of Scott Genstad's fades on the Sunday show. You guys should definitely check that out. You probably all already listened to Jeff Erickson and Scott Genstad on Sundays / Monday mornings. But if you don't, I mean, you got to get with the program. Those two guys are absolutely killing it. Of course, nominated for, I think it was an FSGA award. Best podcast. Okay, Ahmed Rosario. Then Nick Castellanos, who I was kind of eyeing up, was a nice little bounce back candidate. I like Jeremy Pena, kind of hoping he's still there. It'd be kind of nice to get a shortstop before there's a cliff there. maybe not a cliff. Carlos Correa at 116 ADP could be a real nice bargain. If Pena goes, I'll probably consider Correa. Not quite time to pop a guy like Andres Munoz, but I'm really hoping to get him in a few rounds. We'll see. I really am that guy now, huh? Just that guy that goes after Jordan Walker, who's just caught up in the runs. He's got the runs, caught up in the runs, caught up in the hype. But geez, man, can you imagine if Jordan Walker makes the team out of camp, is what we think he's going to be, and Corbin Carroll is what he thinks he's going what we think he's going to be? This team could be a heck of a lot of fun. But with Julio Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson, Corbin Carroll, and Jordan Walker, I have maybe swung a little too into that. I was just saying earlier in this live stream that it's so easy to dream on players. It's harder to be realistic. Well, do as I say, not as I do, I guess. So just like that, after Castellanos, Chris Bryant, Tyler O'Neill, Christian Yelich, Anthony Santander, who I like a lot, CJ Cron, and Christian Walker. Well, I think I'm going to take Munoz. Just so steady, even after a year, pretty much what you're getting, and I feel a little bit better about the volume there with him over a guy like Correa. What do you guys think? Correa versus Pena? Don't really need to address anything else right this minute. Yeah, I like Jeremy Pena. Another youngster. This team's probably going to be terrible. Hopefully not. I actually really like this team so far. We grabbed Jeremy Pena, so now we got a shortstop. We've got 3 infield positions covered. We got Jordan Walker, who can go to the outfield eventually. Maybe time to get back into the pitching pool now. Rhys Hoskins goes with the next pick. So now we are into round 11. 30 rounds, 12 teams. Stephen Kwan just went. Whew. Man. This is the point where the pitchers start getting pretty hairy. And I really like Chris Sale. Sale here and hope to God Munoz gets back. Sale looked so good the other day. But I don't know if I should take him over a guy like Lynn. I do like Lance Lynn. It'd be kind of boring, but I do like Duran as well. I'm going to pivot and go to Duran because I'm hearing some things about Jorge Lopez's velo that scare me. So now I got 2 awesome relievers. And, well, if Duran ends up not closing, that would suck. But if he does close, good grief. This is, I guess, the what could go right team. But, I mean, Spencer Strider, Luis Castillo, Ryan Helsley, Yohan Duran, the dominance on that team. The strikeouts. That's kind of what I want to establish more than anything early is, and really everything ties with this. Our own Aaron Quinn, I don't know if he was having the conversation with me or somebody told me about the conversation with him, but really everything is tied to strikeouts. ERA, whip, wins. Everything is tied to innings and Ks, and if you follow the Ks, everything will fall into place for the most part. I mean, you don't want to follow that to a rule, strictly, but really, if you pay attention to the Ks and get yourself set up well with Ks, the rest should fall in line pretty darn well. It's all about dominance. The name of the game in baseball is dominance, and that's why they had to implement these new rules, because these guys are too dominant. It's too hard to hit them when they're shifting on you and throwing over all the time. It's just hard to score. A guy pitches inside of you. If you're a lefty, they drill you inside, and then you have to try to make contact first, and then when you do, it's pulled to your pull side and right into the shift. It's making contact is hard enough. Well, Chris Sale went, so I won't have a shot at Sale. Maybe I should have gone Sale over Duran, because I did want Munoz. But the thing is that you can never assume the guy you want's still going to be there late. So if you have two guys who are really pretty close, like Duran and Munoz, I have really close. If I got sniped on Munoz and was left without either of those two, I'd be a little disappointed. Because I do not want to throw darts on the relief side. I want to throw my darts on the starting pitching side. I no longer want to be going after high leverage relievers that I hope, Duran, but you know what I'm saying. The guys the Jonathan Loaizagas of the world, who I'm just kind of hoping and praying get into that spot. The Brewstar Gratterall flyers, I don't want to take those flyers anymore. I'm going to throw my darts on the pitching side and not take Craig Kimbrell, folks. The flyers on the relief side are just scary. So I'm talking myself into liking the Duran pick a little more. But either way, Helsley and Duran will just be great ratio guys, one way or another. Talked a little bit about Jose Miranda earlier, and I'd love to grab Miranda, especially because it sounds like, well, he's been able to DH and he's been hitting the ball really well. So it doesn't seem like his issues affect him at the plate whatsoever for Jose Miranda. So it's just a throwing issue. He could DH or play first early on if they need to. Sounds like he could even be ready to play third if necessary at the start of the season. But man, he really took off. I mean, he had a bad first month. Got sent down for a day, and that day, as fate would have it, just so happened to be the day that Royce Lewis hurt his ACL again. So he was down for a day, got called back up the next day to replace Royce Lewis on the roster, and then just took off. Maybe it was a comfort level thing, just knowing that he had a spot, he was secure, that he belonged, and they wanted him up the team. But if you, selective endpoint alert, but if you look at what he did after that second call-up, and you kind of take out that first month he was up, Jose Miranda was absolutely phenomenal. What an individual. It's one of my favorite Gorilla Monsoons. Monsoonisms. What an individual. All right, Freddie Peralta, Joe Ryan. I know RotoWire's James Anderson got Joe Ryan in AL Labor. He's kind of in a little bit of a blind spot for me, Joe Ryan. He's twisting that rearview mirror trying to see him, but I just never am close when he goes, and he's just never up on my board around there. If I could get Lance Lynn too, I considered him last round. Lance Lynn is still there, and I'm up in 7 picks. I think there's a chance Lance Lynn's still there. What do you think? Is that going too hard on pitching? That'd be 5 pitchers already compared to 7 hitters. I would like to get Lynn. Lynn is another guy who came back, had some struggles, but if you're paying attention late, I keep looking up at this camera thing and I still have it turned on. No, I have this internal camera on. But Lance Lynn, if you go back and look at the trend and how he fared as the season went on. I really like him. I know the White Sox are kind of have some stink on them, but that booze stench from Tony La Russa should be gone soon enough. Should Carlos Stanton? I'm not going to take him, but man, that could be 50 homers in the 12th round if he's that guy. But I will not be betting on Giancarlo Stanton being that guy. Love him as a player, physical specimen. When he cracks one, it's a sight to behold. There's really nothing like it, unless O'Neal Cruz continues to blister the ball like he did. But for so long, kind of like Aroldis Chapman was for so long on the fastest pitch leaderboards for a given year. For so long, it was just Stanton after Stanton on the hardest hit balls, and it's a shame his body wasn't able to hold up to the rigors of a full season very often. You got to remember that this game is so hard on the body. You're playing 162 games. You're playing every day basically for 7 months. Think about that. Cody Decker on the XM broadcast was talking about that. Like, he was getting called pops in the clubhouse when he was 32. 32, you're getting called pops in the clubhouse, and he said he can't even, he's just exhausted with the thought of maybe playing at even 35 years old. Don't know how some of these young guys do it. Glaber just won. So I might have a chance at Lynn and Miranda here. Oh, yeah, there goes Correa. So, yeah, I wouldn't take any of the, Glasnow, of course not. Suzuki, a couple of the top guys by ADP I wouldn't take. Then Sean Murphy, I already have 2 catchers. Max Muncy, Daniel Bard, Alexis Diaz, Lance Lynn are the top guys by ADP. So I'm going to take Lynn as my SP3. And that's a hell of an SP3, if you ask me. Even in a 12. So get Lance Lynn, then I can really start hammering the hitting. Lance Lynn, welcome to the squad. Let's win $1 billion. Sean Murphy, Rowdy Tellez. So I think I might take Miranda here. Now, Anthony Rizzo would be the safer play. But Miranda's got dual eligibility, first base and third. Just feel like he's a little bit more on the upswing. Twins need that bat. Feels like maybe going a little too young again. What about Bryce? I'm kind of hearing some things that maybe he's coming back a little sooner than you might think. You know what? I don't want to play that long game. That's looking too far forward. So I'm going to take Miranda. I love that dual eligibility. That's just so nice to have. There goes Bryce right after I took Miranda. So some similar thinking on our parts there. I don't even know who said it. I forget. You hear things, you see tweets, things run together, but we know that Bryce Harper is taking dry swings, and I think maybe it was Jim Bowden who said, yeah, maybe Bryce Harper is one of the top values this year if he ends up coming back in June instead of July, and it's just fine with the bat. He could be a big needle mover, of course. We're into round 13 now. Waiting on pick 150 in this 30-round, 12-team draft. Mixed draft, picking from the 2-hole personally. Round 13 so far, we have Rowdy Tellez. I took Jose Miranda. Then Bryce Harper, who I was considering, went right after I took Miranda. With the third pick of the 13th round. Then Lucas Giolito, Max Muncy, Brandon Lau, and Matt Chapman. Brandon Lau is kind of interesting. And speaking of the Rays, you guys been hearing about Curtis Mead? If you didn't know, we have a section on our site, RotoWire, that's separate from the traditional news section. It's our rumors section. And I was doing my edits yesterday, and interesting note on Curtis Mead maybe getting an extension before he debuts. Now, let's hope he's not going down the Scott Kingery path, folks. We don't want him to pan out that way, but in TGFBI, I took Isaac Paredes, and I was thinking maybe with my last pick, I'll take Curtis Mead just as a little bit of an insurance policy in case, what if they sign him and start him on the roster? Shown flashes this spring. Curtis Mead, that'd be a little bit of a stretch in a 12, but kind of interesting. Probably don't need to take that swing, I know, especially when I have so many youngsters already, but we're coming for that overall. We're coming for it. It's like you don't play this to finish mid-pack in the overall. You want to have all categories covered, and you want to make a run. That's what a lot of your entry fee goes to. And while, yeah, it'd be great to win the league, you can try all different strategies to win your league. You can't punt a category and expect to compete in the overall. So the overall element kind of changes the game just a little bit. It changes the strategy, and certainly changes the strategy, and it kind of changes let me think how to say this. Changes the necessary balance of your team. Changes the way you construct your team, because you need to grab some speed. You need to grab some saves. And if you're not, you may be able to get lucky and you may be able to win your league because you grab a couple guys off the waiver wire who swing the league for you. But chances are you're not going to go that route and finish in the overall. Just like best ball is a different game from traditional roto, this overall contest really adds that different element. Because I want to finish my league and, in the money, and you may think it's getting greedy to aim for the overall on draft day, but if you're not, you're probably not really playing this particular game the right way. All right, let's recap round 13. Rowdy Tellez, Jose Miranda, Bryce Harper, Lucas Giolito, Max Muncy, who I do like, added a little step back toward the batter's box, the back of the batter's box last year, and that mechanical tweak paid huge dividends. Brandon Lau with the 6th pick of round 13. Matt Chapman with the 7th pick of round 13. Then Cal Raleigh, the big dumper. Can we get a big dumper in the chat? That's a rhetorical question. Alexis Diaz with the 9th pick of round 13. Then Ian Happ, Luis Garcia, no longer rocking the cradle, no longer rocking the baby. Can't do that with his windup anymore, but I think he should be just fine. Seems like he's already adjusted well. Anthony Rizzo, Vaughn Grissom, then Pete Fairbanks. I didn't want to bring him up, but I expected him to go a lot earlier. Kind of surprising to see Pete Fairbanks still there in the 14th round. He's getting a lot of helium, but maybe that doesn't always apply to every room all the time. It's sometimes the helium guy sneaks through a little bit. Probably because other guys like Jordan Walker and others are getting helium. As certain guys rise, others have to fall down the board. Jeffrey Springs, who I like. Tyro Estrada, I don't like him this year as a 14th round pick in a 12-teamer. Nice year last year, but everything was, it was kind of a perfect storm for Tyro Estrada. I think he's kind of a util type. Not a guy I want as a foundational piece on my team. All right, well, I've been digging Lars. My man Lars Nootbaar, but what about Grayson Rodriguez? That would be another interesting stab. Outfield is getting pretty hairy, so I think I need to get an outfielder. Top outfielders remaining by ADP right now: Seiya Suzuki, Brandon Nimmo, who I like in best ball, but not so much in the Roto traditional 5x5 format. Harrison Bader, Mitch Haniger, Lars Nootbaar, Whit Merrifield. Ooh, you know what? I should probably take Yoshida. I should probably just take Masataka Yoshida. If he's anywhere close to those projections. I love the Newt, but I'm going to take Yoshida. Take a chance on the unknown. I'm kind of going out my traditional playbook here. I'm really swinging for the fences. I actually did not grab Munoz. I wanted to, but I grabbed Ryan Helsley. Yes, I was the guy taking Jordan Walker round 8. I saw he went in the 9th round of yesterday's NFBC, so I thought if he's still there with the second last pick of the 8th, I would take him, and he was still there. So just soaring higher and higher, but I agree with what Scott Jenstead has said on Twitter that, he's going to be a top 100 pick everywhere soon enough, and 95, I think that's a good gamble. All right, so I took Masataka Yoshida in the 14th round, then Jonathan India and Riley Green. Kind of liked the Riley Green idea of it. Wasn't quite there on him. Now, here's a tough one. I think I may go Grayson Rodriguez. I'm really steering into this overall thing. And I usually say, look, you don't need to swing for the fences every time. But also sometimes you play the hand you're dealt. And if you got these young upside guys still there with, and Chris Bassett is there and Charlie Morton, Grayson Rodriguez could be huge. So, hell, let's go for it. Let's go all in on this swing for the fences strategy. Grayson Rodriguez, you're up. Uncle Ted mentioned in the chat, just brought up Jose Leclerc's name. I'm really interested to see how that closing situation shakes out, because when they signed Will Smith on Saturday, my initial thought was, Will Smith's going to close. They already have 2 other lefties in that bullpen. So do you need 3 lefties all outside the 9th? I don't think so. Will Smith has closing experience under Bruce Bochy and was with Bruce Bochy for several years in San Francisco. Was his primary closer in 2019 with the Giants. And I think you have to remember, too, that there are incentives in Will Smith's contract based on games finished. So Leclerc actually went right after I took Grayson Rodriguez. Leclerc's a little banged up right now. We'll see how serious that is. But even so, Leclerc was good last year, but it's not like he was a lockdown closer for them. He had 7 saves, I think, overall. And he's kind of had his issues in the 9th in the past. Bruce Bochy's an old school guy, loves that proven capabilities in the 9th inning. So, personally, I think Will Smith's going to close in Texas. What do you guys think? Is that a controversial opinion? Do you think Leclerc's going to be the guy? I saw one of the Rangers beat writers mention that Will Smith has more saves and more holds than the rest of that bullpen combined. So, again, I think with Bruce Bochy and the way he is so old school, I believe he's going to. I think there's a good chance he shifts to Melanson. So I will scroll down so you can see every pick, but I'll keep as many picks in frame here as I can. Lars Nootbaar went and Seiya Suzuki. I'm worried about Suzuki's ability to stay healthy. Yeah, what do you think? Can you see the bottom of the board now, KY? We'll scroll down a little bit more. Cabrian Hayes goes, like kind of like him. But I have Gunnar Henderson, and once you get here at third base, I've either been paying up or going with like Eduardo Escobar at third base, or here I took Jordan Walker, but as a backup to Henderson. But third base is kind of tricky. Yandy Diaz, I'll shop in that bottom tier if I miss out on the top ones, because guys like Josh Young, Josh Rojas, Alec Boehm, I could see maybe taking Boehm. I could see in some realm, some parallel universe where I draft Alec Boehm. But Young, Anthony Rendon, I mean, I won't touch him. Justin Turner, thank God he's okay. Just saw he took that ball to the face yesterday. It was absolutely brutal. So if I can't get one of those guys, I will probably get Eduardo Escobar or Yandy Diaz. Two guys that I think are underrated. I also like Isaac Paredes. As I mentioned, he's got 3 position eligibility. 20 homers last year and limited playing time for Isaac. That is how it's pronounced. It's not Isaac Paredes. It's Isaac Paredes. Cody Bellinger finally off the board. 9th pick of the 15th round, followed by Whit Merrifield. Really tough guy to figure out is Whit Merrifield. I don't know how much he's going to play. If he'll still be with that team at the end of the season. He is, because think about this time last year where Whit Merrifield was going. He was still going, top 60, top 100? Got some good comments in the chat. Appreciate you guys. Oscar Colas is a guy who's, I don't expect him to go for a while yet. So I do expect him to go in the draft, but probably not until the mid reserves. But Oscar Colas is a guy who's been getting a lot of attention. Went kind of high in my TGFBI league. Maybe a guy for the White Sox who gets a chance. Uncle Ted has been pushing Oscar Gonzalez on every podcast I've done. I do like Oscar. Little worried about that swing and miss rate, though. I guess I have like Franmil Reyes backlash. But he's, we like to put these players into their little box and helps us make sense of the world. He's not Franmil Reyes. They are both power hitters who were with Cleveland, but they're not the same person. So I need to not let that narrative factor into my thinking. I just, if Oscar Gonzalez is there in maybe 3 rounds, I would consider, but I'm not really considering Gonzalez here with either the next 2 picks. Nimmo, I just mentioned I don't really like him for Roto, but he's almost 30 picks past ADP at this point. Outfielder 4 would be pretty nice. That would allow me to keep Jordan Walker in the corner spot, too. It'd be nice to get 20 bags out of your corner infielder, wouldn't it? I was doing radio with Jeff when the Jordan Walker show went down on Saturday. It turns out James Anderson was actually at the Jordan Walker show live. Knew he was in Florida, but pretty nice timing to actually be there for that legendary Jordan Walker spring training game. At one point, he was 4 for 4 with 2 homers, triple away from the cycle. Maybe we'll look back as the infamous Jordan Walker spring game that led to everybody to go chasing and crash and burn. But, there's a lot of upside there, especially since he runs. He's not Julio Rodriguez. I know that. He's not that caliber of player, but darn good player. I really do kind of like Drew Rasmussen here. Rasmussen. Also like JD Martinez, who I've talked about a lot. I think I already have 7 pitchers, but you never can really have enough. And Drew Rasmussen is just better than most of the pitchers still remaining. I mean, Tony Gonsolin's good and all, but he's likely opening the season on the IL. So then you have Rasmussen, John Gray, Patrick Sandoval, Andrew Heaney, Edward Cabrera. I think I need to jump on Rasmussen before the tier break here. Drew Rasmussen, come on down. All right, so that was the second to last pick of round 16. Round 16 has gone Chris Bassett, Brady Singer, Charlie Morton, Hunter Brown. Lasted probably longer than a lot of people would expect. Heck of a 16th round pick there. Harrison Bader, Javier Baez, Brandon Drury, Reed Detmers, Alec Boehm, Jake Cronenworth. I took Drew Rasmussen. And the final pick of round 16 was Paul Sewald. Then first pick of round 17, Alex Cobb. I just don't think a guy like Brandon Nimmo should still be on the board. I don't even like him that much, but you always forget about runs scored. And man, he scored 102 runs. And that is one of the 5 categories you need. So Brandon Nimmo, come on down. I didn't even think I'd take a guy like Nimmo, but I feel like I have enough power, enough speed to where I can take this batting average and runs play. And almost 30 picks past ADP. Are you guys, am I the sucker? Am I the sucker in the room for taking Nimmo? It's usually the case when you can't spot the sucker. So I'm the sucker in my own draft, which is fun. But no, I like Nimmo. I've been taking him in underdog fantasy a ton because I think we have this. There's a disconnect a little bit between, we all love to play the roto game and then you jump into a best ball that is a different game and a different format. I think there's a disconnect because in points leagues, Brandon Nimmo with that plate discipline is awesome. You don't need to fill categories in a points league. It sounds so obvious, but some people will go chasing speedsters or, letting guys like Nimmo fall because they have it in their head that it's like roto, but points are points. Yeah, Nimmo scored 102 runs. The on-base skills should keep him high top of the batting order, I presume. Alex Lang, that's why I want to get some closers early. Alex Lang is the 17th. It is the 17th, but there's still good players out there. Alex Lang on a bad team, not even assured to close. All right, my team from the 2 holes so far. Get you updated on my particular squad, then we'll shift the big board back down. Julio Rodriguez, Spencer Strider, 3rd round pick JT Realmuto, Corbin Carroll, Luis Castillo, Ryan Helsley, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Walker, 2nd to last pick of the 8th. Yeah, I'm that guy. Wilson Contreras, Jeremy Pena, Yohan Duran, Lance Lynn, Jose Miranda, Masataka Yoshida, Grayson Rodriguez, Drew Rasmussen, Brandon Nimmo. Appreciate you guys stopping through. I know I've said that a few times, but I do appreciate it. And, Jeff suggested I get somebody, ask around somebody to come through, but I did not want to throw that on anybody else's plate. I thought, look, pal, this is your deal. You don't need to ask people to carve out time at 10 p.m. Eastern on a Wednesday night. You can just do a live stream of consciousness to the people. Joey Meneses went. I don't know that I like that, especially in the 17th round. Yeah, I don't really love it. Alex Cobb, Brandon Nimmo, Patrick Sandoval, Trevor Rogers, Alex Lang, Edward Cabrera, Kyber Ruiz, Ty France, Ezekiel Tovar, Mitch Haniger, Joey Meneses, Tony Gonsolin finally goes, and then Andrew Heaney with the first pick of round 18. Now we start getting into the unknown a little bit. Some guys who, this is where the margins thin out and leagues are really won and lost here in these rounds more than anything else. And man, I'm glad I loaded up on some outfielders because there's one outfielder, another youngster who I might gamble on, but and Oscar Colas, who we mentioned, Oscar Gonzalez, but Ramon Laureano, Lourdes Gurriel, Michael Conforto, Jock, Brian De La Cruz. If you have like two outfielders right now, I just think you have an uphill battle trying to get the best 14 hitters out there every week. The best group of 14 hitters. Josh Young. So round 18 so far. Andrew Heaney, Josh Young, Travis d'Arnaud, Andrew Benintendi. D'Arnaud's going to have to split time with Sean Murphy, but he's a big part of that team. Leader in the clubhouse, leader with handling the pitching staff, and d'Arnaud will play a lot if his body holds up. That is a question. Don't forget he's had a lot of health issues too, but they all love his ability to call a game and handle the staff. So he'll be the starting staff will make sure there's plenty of Travis d'Arnaud behind the plate. Josh Rojas, speedy, but without a set home. He's going to be their utility guy. Should be in the lineup pretty much every day, but man, I hate drafting a guy that doesn't have a set spot on the diamond, especially as a starting player. Top names available by ADP: Danny Jansen, Oscar Gonzalez, John Gray, Seth Brown, Ketel Marte, Luis Arraez, JD Martinez, who I'm hoping to get. I'm up in 4 picks. If JD's there, I'm smashing that button. I know he's off to a poor start, but it does not matter. He's still fine. He'll be fine. They brought him in for $10 million. They said he's going to DH every day, even at the expense of Will Smith behind or at DH sometimes. So they want and expect JD to play a big role. There goes Lourdes Gurriel. So that means, yeah, here we go. The guy's trying to fill that outfield. Brian De La Cruz, Oscar Gonzalez, Lourdes Gurriel. Frankly, I don't really want any of those guys on my team this year. So I'm prioritizing outfield. And actually, the year I won TGFBI, which was in 2018, the same year I finished in the top 10 in this particular online championship, I went outfielder to start my draft. I went Stanton, JD Yelich that year, 2018. Man, it's just something when you're starting 5 outfielders, I almost think outfield becomes the scarcest position. JD Martinez, welcome to the squad. So now I got a lot of possibilities open to me. My unspilled spots are second base, middle, 5th outfielder, and 2 pitchers. Would be kind of nice to get a second baseman. What about Ketel Marte? I mean, geez. Let me look at what Ketel Marte's ADX projection looks like. I mean, Ketel Marte, he doesn't run much, but man, he's a pretty good player. More pop than Arraez. Not as much average, but not a bad average guy either. Tempted to take the stab on Ketel Marte. There's just not a lot else there at first or at second base that I like. So getting Ketel Marte about 10 picks past ADP. Maybe I'm the sucker here too. But I think he's a lot better than he showed last year, so I'll take Ketel Marte. Needed a second baseman. Which guy did I talk myself into that I didn't want? I'm sure there was somebody along the way. Oh, Nimmo, maybe? I mean, Nimmo plays every single day. I think he's just too disrespected here. KY Wildcats brought up second base just before I didn't actually see that, but right when I was starting to think about it, feeling the heat a little bit at second base. So yeah, Ketel Marte, not a guy I've ended up with in any other draft, but I think he's a better option than Luis Arraez. Arraez does bring dual eligibility. But what am I going to do? Take Arraez, Bryson Stott? No, I'd rather have Ketel Marte there. Maybe I can get my boy Isak a little later. Give me a little insurance at the Keystone. We're making our way through the Beat Clay Link draft, part of the NFBC. There are a lot of, beat insert expert drafts this draft season. Hopefully, if you're interested, you could jump into one. It's a lot of fun, and I would say don't be intimidated because most people know their stuff really well, but we all kind of have the same information available to us right at our fingertips. Fangraphs, RotoWire, Baseball Reference. The playing field's pretty even. Granted, I get if you have a full-time job and you can't do this as much as those who actually work full-time in the industry. But yeah, so many tools available to you that you can take down any league you put your mind to, bud. All right, so round 19 now. Ryan McMahon, I took Ketel Marte. Miles Michaelis, kind of underrated. John Gray, Sonny Gray, so a Gray run there in the 19th round. John Gray, Sonny Gray go back-to-back. DJ LeMahieu, Luis Arraez. Yeah, Brunch. I mean, maybe I did talk myself into Nimmo, but there's no way you can slice him as being a bad player. He's not. It's not like I talked myself into taking a bad player. He's really good. Just a little less so for the traditional 5x5 mixed roto. But man, don't we all as a group just kind of discount runs scored? We talk about average, we talk about home runs, RBI steal, but does anybody ever talk about runs scored? I mean, unless you're running down a batting line from the past year, it seems like nobody ever thinks about bringing on runs scored or prioritizing runs scored, addressing that category specifically. It's never, I got to get this guy for runs scored. But Nimmo, if he gets anywhere close to 100 again, it's going to pay off big time at that spot. Evan Phillips, is he the closer for the Dodgers? What do you guys think? I'm skeptical, but he is a hell of an arm. Tristan Casas went in the 19th round, second to last pick. We are now nearing the end of the mid 20th round, so we're about 2/3 of the way through this. Making good time. We were only about an hour and a half into this thing. And already 2/3 of the way down. I was thinking I'd be in the office. I'm in the Madison office right now, just because better mic set up. You got this RotoWire background behind me, better lighting too. So I drove into the office. I was thinking I'd be here till well past midnight, but it's looking like that may not be the case. So to begin the 20th round, Anthony Rendon, I mentioned I can't do it. Too much missed time. Talking about how hard this game is on the body. If he hasn't been able to do it now or up until now, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. You don't get healthier and you don't have the ability to withhold more punishment, more wear and tear as you get older. That's not how it works. Father Time is undefeated. So, I mean, they went out and got Gio Urshela because they knew. I mean, they brought in Gio Urshela. They traded for him specifically. Basically said the day that they got him that he's Rendon insurance, that he doesn't have a set spot. He's just going to be there to move around and fill in the third when Anthony Rendon inevitably gets hurt. Carlos Estevez, there's Oscar Colas going right after Rendon. So Anthony Rendon, Oscar Colas, Carlos Estevez. Is he the closer? We'll see. Kyle Finnegan, Jose Barrios, remember him, and Gene Segura. So he was another name at second that I looked at. I don't want to be starting Gene Segura in a 12er. So I'm glad I took Ketel Marte. This team's really swinging for it. If I win the overall, you'll all be able to say, "Hey, I was in the chat room when Clay drafted the overall winning team." I'm surely going to beat out, 2,000 other teams, whatever it is. Probably more than that. This is a kind of a tough little pick here. Nobody really stands out as a must. I had Kelnick in my queue, but yeah, Kelnick went a while ago. It looks like I didn't. Oh, he just went. Dang it. Well, maybe I'm saved for myself a little bit there. Well, I need another outfielder, another pitcher. I like Eric Lauer a lot. I think I'll just take Eric Lauer. Pretty boring, but I already have a lot of upside, so I just need this boring volume. And hey, he gets the pitch against the Reds and the Pirates. So Eric Lauer, I feel good about. Now, who do I get on the offensive side? Man, oh man. This is why you got to address outfield, because I need one more outfielder and I'm struggling. This is gross out here. Outfielders available: Seth Brown, Ramon Laureano, Michael Conforto, Jock Peterson, Asturi Ruiz. That's one swing of the fences I'm not taking this year. Christopher Morel, Austin Meadows, Trey Mancini. Ugh, man, I don't like any of these guys. I guess I just gotta. Middle is a spot I could fill. Well, Peraza is already gone, huh? Man, I don't really like anybody right now. That's a bad spot to be in. That's a bad feeling, isn't it, folks? Just don't really like anybody here. At least Ramon Laureano is going to play. Actually, you know what? Let's go CJ Abrams. You got to steer into it. If we're going with a bunch of youngsters, let's just do it. Plus, if he hits, that's going to put us in such good shape for speed. Ugh. I don't feel good about that pick at all, but that's the first pick so far that I haven't been happy about. I guess Nimmo too, if you count him, but I got my starters. I got a couple closers in theory. Yeah, I didn't like the CJ Abrams pick. I'll admit that to you right now. Clock was ticking down, and I pivoted from Ramon Laureano to CJ Abrams. I don't know. I get a bad feeling about Laureano. Probably traded. He's gotten hurt. Don't forget he charged the Astros pitching coach that one year. A little bit of a hothead. Yeah, this fifth outfielder's position is going to be a little tricky. Kyle Stowers is a guy who goes 450, so 200 picks from now, but James has been on Stowers a little bit, and interested. I probably wouldn't even draft him even as a reserve here, but could be kind of interesting. I kind of like Jake Fraley. Certainly like him more than TJ Friedel. Kind of like Trent Grisham too. So maybe I'll wait a little bit and just go ultra cheap at that 5th outfielder spot. I could always move. Maybe I will have to move Jordan Walker out there. Maybe I should just do that and not really worry about my 5th outfielder. That would mean I need another corner. I don't like any of these outfielders remaining, I got to tell you. Meanwhile, some of these corners aren't bad, so maybe I'll go with like a Yandy Diaz in a bit. Kind of like that. Hitting gets... I thought in a 12, the hitting would be a little bit more plentiful than it is. I've done a bunch of 15 teams. I was kind of looking forward to this 12, thinking, oh man, I'm going to be riding so high on this team. I do like this team, but it's not like the shot in the arm. Like, oh man, I'm so excited. I'm excited about this squad, but now it's getting to the point where I'm going to have at least one offensive player that I don't feel good about, which even in a 12, you should feel pretty good about your team top to bottom. You're not going to get everything you want, but top available players by ADP, Seth Brown, who's hanging around about 50 picks past ADP. He has, what does he have? Shoulder inflammation. He was scratched from your lineup yesterday, Seth Brown was. Seth Brown, Alberto Mondesi, who I won't touch, Logan O'Hoppe, Gabriel Moreno, Sir Anthony Dominguez. These are the top available players by ADP. They're all a little... Definitely start getting a little hairy here. Who do you guys think closes for the White Sox? Is it Graveman or is it Ronaldo Lopez? Maybe I should take Giovanni Gallegos just to provide myself some insurance on Helsley. I hate that idea if he's still there in a couple of rounds. I'm starting to get into Maeda. He's kind of on my sleeper radar. I like Aaron Savali too. A little bit later, but yeah, Savali, if I can get him as a reserve. Go look at Savali's numbers last year. Aside from the ERA, the Ks are kind of middling, but he's pretty solid when he's getting the ball. If he's hurt in a 12-teamer, maybe you can drop him. So, you wouldn't draft him as anything more than a bench piece in a 12. But I really like Savali as a guy that you can filter in, stream in here and there, and extract significant value from. Am I missing on something on Bryson Stott? Is Bryson Stott better than I give him credit for? I don't know what it is. I just don't really like him. He's not terrible, though. As a guy who goes 10-10, I'd like to get a little speed from every spot. What do the projections look like for Bryson Stott this year? The Bad X has him for 12 homers and 10 bags, so basically a repeat of last year. A little bit better average. ATC. Shout out to Ariel Cohen, great dude. He has Bryson Stott at 245 average, 13 and 12. I just don't know if that's enough punch for me. It's not terrible in this range, but it's also just kind of a little boring. Yeah, there goes Yandy. I was kind of hoping to get him. Hmm. Who's the guy who now these won't face discipline from the league? Mike Clevenger. Mike Clevenger's got some appeal here. I think just because his ADP is coming up, maybe I go with, kind of like Stott actually. Just no. I like Gallegos as a guy. Just give myself a little insurance there with St. Louis. You just never know. He's so clearly the next man up. It'll help me sleep a little better tonight, I think. Not a pick I really wanted to make, but we'll get a bunch of starters to filter through and keep guy bench. How Bradish went. I was kind of hoping for him a little later. All right, now I think it's time to take Savali. I don't think I really need Bryson Stott. Who's Bryson Stott anyway? Yeah, I kind of like the Savali. Aaron Savali, he's a little down by ADP, but at this point, ADP goes out the window for the most part. Actually, Carlos Carrasco would be a pretty good pick, too. Yeah, Carrasco won 15 games last year, so I'm going to actually pivot and go Carrasco. Hopefully I can get Savali on the way back. You need wins. And man, 15 wins, even though he was hurt last year. Carlos Carrasco is going to get wins if he's healthy. They're not going to baby Carlos Carrasco. Big park, good offense, good bullpen. So I got Gallegos, and now I got who was effectively my actual ninth active pitcher, who's Carlos Carrasco. Aaron Savali just went. Dang it. Maybe I should have taken Savali. Ooh, maybe not. Somebody's contacted the admin for help. We knew we'd get one of those. You got to have at least one hiccup. So maybe Savali's going back on the board. I'd be pumped about that, personally. Apparently, he tried to pick Christian Vasquez, so it looks like Aaron Savali may be headed back. I'll take it. Oh, no. Oh, we got a little technical hiccup here. We'll see what happens. I guess Aaron Savali is not coming off the board because he wasn't actually the mistaken pick. So a couple picks went after the mistaken pick. But they contacted the admin in a reasonable time frame. Oh, sorry, I didn't even realize I had the draft board so high. Yeah, Brandon Belt's a good call. I should at least add him to the queue. He's a guy I could put in at corner and then move in, or Jordan Walker too. to the outfield. That's a good one. I wonder why he's so buried by ADP. I know Vlad Sedler's been pumping him too, so a little surprising Brandon Belt's so widely available. I do like Isak Paredes too, as I mentioned. What do you guys think about Anthony Volpe? Is Anthony Volpe a dark horse to make that team? I don't think so. But yeah, I do not get why Brandon Belt is so buried by ADP. 403. I know the guy's hurt all the time, but he can swing it. He can swing that stick when he's healthy. You know, there's a sleeper on the pitching side I kind of like. Hoping to get him maybe here, definitely in TGFBI in a bit. Nick Martinez, the Padres. Really good interview with one of the Padres beat writers on our XM show the other day with Nick Whalen and Jeff Erickson. Talking about how Nick Martinez, when he went to the bullpen, it wasn't just that he got the added velo that comes with the shorter spurts. He actually changed his pitch mix, changed how he was attacking hitters. Kind of lends me to believe maybe a little bit more real performance than some people think. Maybe the performance holds up with the transition back to starting a little better than people think. All right, we're really getting into the trees with it now. Roansy Contreras. Go and get your guy. I kind of like Tanner Houck, too. I might put him in the queue just so I don't forget about him. Imagine he's getting starts for the Red Sox to begin the year, and he said that he wants to start. So he's got that incentive, and money's a hell of an incentive. When you're a starting pitcher, I know relievers make a lot too, but you can make a heck of a lot more. Your earning potential gets cut dramatically when you go to the bullpen. So Tanner Houck wants to start. He's determined to make it as a starter. He wants that starter pay down the road. So kind of like him, Kenta Maeda I mentioned. Andrew Painter, there's no update on his elbow, right? I think they said that there was, let me check. Andrew Painter, RotoWire. Here's a good site. I've not been told he needs surgery, so that's good. That's good. Still not going to take him. But Eduardo Rodriguez, kind of a forgotten man, but hopefully all of his personal things he was dealing with last year are behind him, and he can resume what was shaping up to be a really good career. I may take Isak over Belt. I'd like to get both of them. Clevenger, Nick Martinez, maybe. Once again, we're nearing the twilight of this draft. I think I'm going to take Isak. That would give me a corner guy to have and middle. Corner and middle. Let me just double check here how the team's shaking out. Well, I could move Walker to the outfield and put Isak at corner. Or put Isak in middle for Abrams if that doesn't work out. Yeah, I think I need that flexibility. And again, he hit 20 homers last year, and even 20 in limited playing time. I know a lot of those were bunched up, but you don't really just fall into 20 homers in the big leagues. It doesn't really work that way. I'm thinking I might take Trent Grisham here. I feel like Trent Grisham has some potential still. Man. I really don't like the outfielders. Yeah, don't like this really at all. Austin Meadows, I don't really like. Grichuk's hurt. You know, I do like Maeda. Might as well just take Maeda. Hope Belt's still there in a few rounds. I like that. I like Maeda over Clev. Yeah, let's do it. Maeda. So catching you up. Round 24. Logan O'Hoppe, Ronzi Contreras, Ha-Sung Kim, Aroldis Chapman, who I've been hearing good things about in camp. He goes with the 4th pick of the 24th round. Eduardo Rodriguez, Ranger Suarez, Kendall Graveman, Reynaldo Lopez, Taijuan Walker, Cal Quantrill. I took Isaac Paredes. Then Brandon Pfaadt goes with the last pick of the 24th round. Interesting arm there, Brandon Pfaadt. PFAA DT. Been getting a lot of hype this spring. So that was actually one where, for Arizona, maybe I should have swung for the fences there too, but I don't know. On a per start, I feel better about trotting Maeda out there to start than at least to begin the year than I would Brandon Pfaadt. Round 25, Lane Thomas. I took Kenta Maeda, then Martin Perez, Austin Meadows, Adam Duvall. Other guys struggling in the spring, but I wouldn't really put too much stock into that. I kind of like him in Fenway, but not somebody I was willing to take there. Jake Fraley, Luis Urias. So, I'm going to have to get creative with this outfield spot. I'm hoping to move Jordan Walker out there. That's going to be the hope. So, yeah, I've taken 2 reserves and not technically filled my active spot. I have 1 outfield spot just lingering. Like a bad fart, just sitting there staring at me, that 5th outfielder spot. Again, planning to move Jordan Walker there once he gets eligibility. It should be early on in the season, assuming he does break camp. It's a lot of assumptions, which can be dangerous. But if I do that, then I could maybe move Isak to corner where Walker was. I will draft another outfielder. Obviously, I have to, but I'm not really pressed that I have to right now. Maybe get Trent Grisham in a little bit. We got Charlie Blackmon. Maybe still useful. Marcelo Zuna, I don't like the guy, but he's going to play a lot. McCutcheon, too. I actually don't hate Kutch. Do you guys think, does Kutch still have something in him? Here's a name I've been hearing a little bit about, although I don't know a ton about him. Sal Frelick. Sal Frelick. Could be, if he gets some run, he could be pretty good. James Outman's kind of interesting. But yeah, this just reinforces for me that I got to go outfield heavy early. You get stuck drafting these guys as starters. Oof. My outfield, Julio Rodriguez, Corbin Carroll, Masataka Yoshida, Brandon Nimmo. Add Jordan Walker in that mix, and that's a pretty good 12-team outfield. Not maybe the star-studded 12-team outfield some people would like, but I'm fine with that as a 12-team outfield. So we're on the final pick of the 25th round meeting. We're heading into the final 5 rounds of this draft already. This thing has flown by. Yep, Matt Gibson said Ozuna in the chat. Brendan Donovan. Brunch mentions here that Donovan's been leading off a lot for Atlanta. He was kind of like, he's kind of like the, I don't know what the term would be, but the flavor of the month sort of thing with Oli Marmol, and then he's kind of out of it. Oh, there goes Grisham, so I'll be getting Trent Grisham. Kind of like his bounce back potential, but That will be on somebody else's watch. Lane Thomas, Kenta Maeda, Martin Perez, round 25. Austin Meadows, Adam Duvall, Jake Fraley, Luis Urias, Yasmani Grandal, Ross Stripling, Brandon Marsh out in Philadelphia, Esteri Ruiz, 85 steals last year. That's one that could really pay off big. Then Trent Grisham, who I was eyeing up, he goes with the last pick of round 25. Then the first pick of round 26, Eric Haas, Jimmy Herget. I don't know about that one. Isn't there a youngster? Isn't there a young prospect? Ben Joyce. Ben Joyce, like, he could be kind of an interesting last round pick. I wouldn't use it on a reliever spec, but yeah, Ben Joyce just throws gas. I think he's thrown 105 before. Just dirty. I do kind of like Belt, so I got to give you guys some love for giving me the, Matt Gibson with the Belt mention. I admit I probably wouldn't have considered him right now on my own, just given he's so buried by ADP. I don't know really why that is. But kind of like Tanner Houck, too, maybe. Coming up. Donovan. That's a bummer. That's all right. I think I could take Belt here. I kind of like Houck on the upside. Already got 2 bench pitchers, but yeah, let's go Houck. Let's play the short game there. If he's getting starts early, maybe I could use him. If he heads to the bullpen, gets hurt, sucks. The 26th round pick's not going to kill me. So let's go Houck. So I've now drafted 4 reserves before my 5th outfielder. Again, I expect to move Jordan Walker there, but still kind of interesting. Thankfully, I have a lot of flexibility built in with the 1 reserve hit. Isak, Chris Taylor, Noah Syndergaard went. So, yeah, I mean, I got second base, third base, first with Isak. So let's just go Belt. I like that call. Yeah, let's go Brandon Belt. He's going to, some weekend he's going to have some just monster weekend. And with the NFBC half weeks, I could switch him in for play the platoons and get some, I don't think he's going to be an every week starter or every half week starter, but these are the kind of guys on your bench that you want. So Brandon Belt, come on down. Only 3 more picks remaining for me. This has flown by. I told you I didn't want to ask anybody to, take time out of their Wednesday night to come through. I was kind of thinking, man, this might get tough. This has been great for me. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Live stream of consciousness, as I mentioned, but it's been fun. And I also was thinking, I don't know if I could hold a conversation. I just kind of got to just spew whatever is on my mind. So I don't think I'd be a good guy to have in the host spot right now. This is good. This is good to not only battle test my rankings, but usually in this range, I have the guys that I really want. And that's just not the case. So maybe I need to look. I always got to turn over as many stones as I can before opening day, but it feels like I maybe need to really dig in to find my guys here at the very end. Because I don't have any strong feelings right now about with my last 3 picks here. Who are the guys to get? Usually I have very clear kind of sleepers, so maybe this is a year where they're just not there, or I need to really get to work on finding out. At the tail end here, just gets so gnarly. I'm thinking Kutch for my final outfield spot, though. You guys think that's decent? I mean, I'll be fine with Kutch for now. I mentioned Curtis Mead as a guy who I may just take Mead as ESOC insurance. And if he signs a long-term deal, I mean, that could be a sweet pick. And I wouldn't have to spend a bunch of fab on him. If Curtis Mead signs a long-term deal before opening day and it's on the opening day roster, how high does his price soar? I mean, he's not a scrub prospect by any means. I mean, he's interesting. And that would give me both insurance with my first closer and with a pretty important bat. I'll take him with my last pick, maybe, if he's there, but it's about the extent of it. So am I up, Kutch, Nick Martinez, Mike Clevenger. So far in the 27th round, Noah Syndergaard, Brandon Belt, who I took, Rafael Montero, Bailey Ober, kind of interesting, especially with Andrew Painter hurt. Bailey Ober should be getting some starts. Nick Gordon, 5th pick in the 27th round, Braxton Garrett, Mackenzie Gore, Yon Moncada, Juan Yepes, Michael Fulmer. So we're heading into the final 3 rounds of the draft tonight. This is fun, actually. I crack myself up, as my mom used to say. I like hearing my own voice. No, I really don't. But it's fun to just kind of talk with you guys. You guys chime in here and there in the chat. It's been fun. This has flown by. Yeah, I agree. Kutch is just fine as a final outfielder. Yep. Chances are anybody I've taken at this point is a fab cut. I mean, that is a strong bet. I was looking over some old drafts recently. I was thinking, why the heck did I draft any of these guys in reserves? None of these guys played a role in my team. Can't win them all. Can't bet 1,000, folks. Nobody bats 1,000, pal. But that is true. I mean, you're gonna have some misses. You just gotta take them in stride and grind for 26 weeks. Really, if you do that, you're going to put yourself in a good position. It's a lot of work. And yeah, the draft matters a ton, of course. But if you take the time to do fab every single week for 26 weeks, you're going to be in a good position. And it may not pay off this year, but you're going to learn what it takes to be a fantasy baseball champion. And you put yourself in position to win in future years. So, trust me, I mentioned it earlier. There's some Sundays I don't want to do it. But I do it. And let me tell you, there's no more rewarding fantasy sport than fantasy baseball. Just like anything else, you get out what you put in. And if you take home a championship, you win a nice stack of money. Especially in the NFBC where they pay out immediately and there's some pretty hefty prizes up for grabs, even just your league payouts. I don't drink anymore, but if you want to pop some champagne after a big win, maybe take a Yoo-hoo shower, which I think is a Tout Wars tradition. however you want to celebrate, you're going to feel really good after winning a fantasy baseball title. So don't, if it's May 16th, don't say, oh, my team's crappy. It's at the bottom of the standings or near the bottom. I don't want to keep doing this. Just keep going. The standings, how they look. Troy T says, man, you took some players way too early. Probably. Although with Jordan Walker, I don't think that's going to look too early in a couple weeks. And with Corbin Carroll, I already don't think that it's going to look too early. I said before the draft, I don't think I said it on the stream, but I said it before the draft that if Corbin Carroll went in the 5th round last night in the online championship, if he's there with the second to last pick of the 4th, I was going to take him. Get that speed wrapped up. Speed, man. I expect there to be more speed, but that just means you need more stolen bases to compete in the category. That doesn't mean you can just pass on the category. I mean, you need more. So I'm pumped to have JT Realmuto, Gunnar Henderson maybe will chip in some. Jordan Walker could chip in 15 to 20. Julio, Corbin Carroll. A lot from people here or there. Well, Kutch is still available. Yeah, pick 335. Kutch is just fine. And as I mentioned with Jordan Walker getting outfield eligibility, it's not like I'm going to need to start Kutch all the time. But let's get that final outfield spot filled up. Matt Vierling? That's kind of an interesting name. I hadn't really considered him for a league like this, but Jesse, I kind of like that name drop. Put the comment on Troy T does not seem to like my draft, but to each their own. And yeah, I did take some swings for sure. All right, I'm up here with my 29th rounder. I like Nick Martinez as a sleeper. Clevenger's still there. I don't like this dude. And this is maybe one where my personal feelings are just clouding things here. But fantasy baseball is supposed to be fun. I don't want to take a guy that I just don't like. He seems like a scrub. And we don't want no scrubs, do we, folks? So I think I'm going to go Nick Martinez. Clevenger, he was boys with Bauer and went out, broke protocols, then just threw his teammate Plesac under the bus, pretended like he wasn't there with him. So I just don't like him. So I'm going to take his old teammate, Nick Martinez. I really like Nick Martinez as a sleeper, deep sleeper. It just took him 338, so it's not like I'm saying you got to get Nick Martinez, but as a, bench arm that I can rotate in and out. What do you think, guys? Should I take Curtis Mead just for the hell of it? Oh, I might as well. It'll probably be a drop, but that's fine. The one thing that would kind of devastate some of my teams is if he got job and Isak kind of got phased out. Curtis Mead would be a little bit of a stretch, but man, if Curtis Mead, if everybody drafts and then Curtis Mead signs a long-term deal, he'd be kind of like the hot guy in that first Fab run. Also kind of like Ken Waldichuk as a flyer, but I already have Carrasco, Maeda, Houck, Martinez on the bench, so I don't need another arm. I need another bat for sure. So, and I frankly don't like any of the big league bats that are here. Ozuna, but I think I'd rather just take a chance on Mead and then drop him if it doesn't look like he's going to sign that long-term deal. But there are multiple reports suggesting Curtis Mead and the Rays are talking long-term. All right, well, coming down to the end of the draft here. This has been so fun. Nice. Kreischer likes Mead, Curtis Mead. Brandon says maybe Volpe. Yeah, Volpe could be there. They're saying they're paying attention to Anthony Volpe. And look, I kind of like Oswald Peraza, but he's no sure thing. Expect this rookie to just run away with this shortstop job? I mean, there are signs that he could be good, but it's not a sure thing by any means. I like the idea, though, Brandon and Kreischer, that I should just take a stab at a guy like that. I think that's the play. And I said, I'm forever indebted to Walker Buehler and Jack Flaherty, whose rookies led me to a top 10 finish here in the online championship. And you got to take some risks. And you got to. I maybe steered too far in that direction, as Troy in the chat kind of alluded to. Maybe I steered too much toward the home run swings, the young upside. But whether you take it in the top of the draft, the middle, or late, you're taking some risk somewhere. Nobody's a sure thing. Even guys we've seen in the majors year after year after year, they're no sure thing. Track record means a lot, but track record isn't everything. You're healthy until you're not. You can perform until you can't. So I'm trying my best to look into the crystal ball here. Play what's to come, not so much. Well, Anthony Volpe went, so I'll not be getting Anthony Volpe with my last pick. Again, I'm eyeing up Curtis Mead as a potential final pick. Give me some insurance behind Isaac Paredes. My team so far: Julio Rodriguez, Spencer Strider, JT Realmuto, Corbin Carroll, Luis Castillo, Ryan Helsley, Gunnar Henderson, Jordan Walker, Wilson Contreras, Jeremy Pena, Yohan Duran. Love that name, and I love that gas that he throws. Lance Lynn, Jose Miranda in the 13th, Masataka Yoshida, Grayson Rodriguez, Drew Rasmussen, Brandon Nimmo, JD Martinez, Ketel Marte, Eric Lauer, CJ Abrams, Giovanni Gallegos, Carlos Carrasco, Isaac Paredes, Kenta Maeda, Tanner Houck, Brandon Belt, Andrew McCutcheon, and Nick Martinez. And potentially Curtis Mead if he's still there. All right, we're coming up on the last 8 picks of the 2023 Beat Clay Link League. We'll see how many people are able to beat Clay Link. It sounds so conceited. I'm kidding. But look, pal, over the first 2 years of Beat Clay Link leagues, only one of the 22 other managers finished ahead of me across those 2 years. Did not have such a good year in this league last year. I forget where I finished, but not my best. So trying to get back on track. I like this team. This is a good learning experience. Now I'm going to have to make some adjustments to my rankings. Got an idea of how some future drafts could play out. So this was very much worthwhile, and this will inform future drafts for sure because the market is constantly changing. It is a moving target, to say the least, and yeah, today's price is not yesterday's price or whatever that saying is. Mitch Keller, Domingo Herman, some of the Flyers going at this point. Francisco Mejia. I think I'm going to take Mead. You guys think there's a chance well, I know there's an outside chance because they're reporting that he could sign a long-term deal. Let's go with Mead. Maybe I'm the only person in the online championship to draft Curtis Mead this year, but that could help me. There's just nobody here I want. Ellie De La Cruz would be fun, but I'd be shocked if he exceeded rookie status this year. I mean, there's no way. They got to keep his rookie status intact for him to maybe win NL Rookie of the Year in 2024, Ellie De La Cruz. All right, Curtis Mead, last pick. Curtis Mead, come on down. I wonder if I am the only person to take him in an online 12 team. That's a stretch, but that is strictly a play based on the recent news, recent reports that Curtis Mead could sign a long-term deal prior to opening day. Well, that's it. Mike Clevenger didn't even end up going. Mr. Irrelevant, at least in this draft, is James Karinchak. Kind of like that, actually, just as a, something could happen to what's his name? Clase. All right, guys, that'll do it. Yeah, Garrett Mitchell went a while ago, I think. Garrett Mitchell, some helium. I don't exactly. Let me see. Garrett Mitchell went in the 21st round, so yeah. I mean, that's not sky high of a price, but he's starting to catch on. I saw Jeff Erickson took him in TGFBI. I may be on the clock in TGFBI. I should check. And I need to get home, get something to eat. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being with me tonight. Really appreciate you stopping through. This was a lot of fun. Flew by. Got through 30 rounds in 2 hours, 20 minutes. 140 minutes for 30 rounds. That's great. So thanks to the league mates. Thanks to everybody who signed up. Thanks for stopping through, hanging out in the chat. What do you guys think of this team? Feel free to let me know on Twitter at ClayWLink. Check us out at RotoWire. We're doing so much, guys, and so much on the back end to give you the best tools available for the fantasy baseball season. Good luck this season. I'll be doing more drafts, maybe even another live stream. Thanks, Kreischer. Appreciate it. He says, well done. Thank you guys again for being here. I may even do another live stream this draft season. So if you want to come hang out again, we'd love to have you. And good luck in your drafts. Talk to you soon at RotoWire.